Viewers, Prime Minister Modi is determined to paint the Congress into a corner, a communal anti-Hindu corner at that. In election speech after speech, he claims to have unearthed a Congress conspiracy to institutionalize legal discrimination against Hindus if it is voted to power. The Prime Minister believes this conspiracy is hard-coded into the clauses of the Congress Party manifesto for 2024. Modi alleges that the manifesto in its present form commits itself to affirmative action that will lead to the balkanization of India, as the document has the, quote, imprint of the Muslim League, unquote, upon it. Of course, the Muslim League the Prime Minister is invoking refers to the pre-independence special political vehicle founded by anglicized barrister politician Muhammad Ali Jinnah to champion the creation of Pakistan. Not just this, the Prime Minister believes that the manifesto commits any prospective Congress-led government to roll out policies overwhelmingly biased towards Muslims. Listen in.
आपकी संपत्ति सरकार को हटने का अधिकार है क्या? क्या आपकी संपत्ति को, आपने मेहनत करके कमाई हुई संपत्ति को सरकार को ऐंठने का अधिकार है क्या? उसका मंगलसूत्र वो एक सोने का कीमत का मुद्दा नहीं है, उसके जीवन के सपनों से जुड़ा हुआ है। तुम उसे छीनने की बात कर रहे हो अपने मैनिफेस्टो में? गोल्ड ले लेंगे, सबको वितरित कर देंगे। और पहले जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। इसका मतलब ये संपत्ति इकट्ठी करके किसको बांटेंगे? जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे हैं उनको बांटेंगे, घुसपैठियों को बांटेंगे। कांग्रेस के शहजादे का कहना है कि उनकी सरकार आई तो कौन कितना कमाता है, किसके पास कितनी प्रॉपर्टी है, किसके पास कितना धन है, किसके पास कितने मकान है, उसकी जांच कराएंगे। इतना ही नहीं, वो आगे कहते हैं ये जो संपत्ति है उनको सरकार अपने कब्जे में लेकर उसको सबको बांट देगी। 2004 में जैसे ही कांग्रेस की केंद्र में सरकार बनी, उसके सबसे पहले किए गए कामों में था, सबसे पहला काम था चुनाव जीतने के बाद आंध्र प्रदेश में SC ST के रिजर्वेशन में से कमी करके मुसलमानों को रिजर्वेशन देने का प्रयास। कांग्रेस ने इतने प्रयास ये जानते बूझते किए कि ये सब संविधान की मूल भावना के खिलाफ था।
Viewers, is the Prime Minister seeing the ghost of appeasement where none exists? The Congress certainly thinks so. But a deeper inquiry into the Congress manifesto reveals many ambiguously worded proposals to further the cause of what it terms as, quote, social justice and equity, unquote. For instance, in the manifesto, the party is promised to conduct, quote, a socio-economic and caste census to enumerate the castes and subcastes and their socio-economic conditions, unquote. Now, a census by itself is harmless, viewers, as you all know. But this, albeit arduous but statistically heavy, mere academic exercise acquires a greater edge when it is read in conjunction with Congress chief campaigner Rahul Gandhi's X-ray statement. Indeed, a day after the manifesto was released, Rahul Gandhi promised to conduct, in his words, quote, an X-ray that will provide an insight to minorities on just how much of a stake their population entitles them to have in the share of the nation's resource pie. More than this, We will also conduct a financial and institutional survey in a historic step to ascertain the distribution of wealth held by different communities, unquote. Many are convinced that the only reason for ascertaining wealth distribution is to undertake a redistribution of it for the uplift of minorities. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in 2006 had in fact said as much when he made it clear that minorities, especially Muslims, have the first claim on the nation's wealth. The manifesto also pledges that if the Congress comes to power, it will pass a constitutional amendment to remove the Supreme Court mandated 50% cap on reservations for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. I'm reading out of the manifesto. But viewers, let's look a little closer at this clause that I just read out. Is this raising of the limit on reservation quota, so to speak, primarily aimed at appeasing Muslims? The question is based on precedent. And here are some hard facts, viewers, that I always bring to your attention so that you are better placed to determine fact from fiction. Now, I'm talking about precedent. In 2004, for instance, when Congress Andhra Pradesh state government had announced reservations for Muslims in government jobs in education, the Supreme Court stayed the implementation of the Muslim quota above the 50% cap, but had allowed it within the 27% OBC fold. So basically, this quota, this 4%, came at the expense of the OBCs, SCs and STs. Crucially, the Supreme Court had referred the matter to a 5-judge Supreme Court bench, a bigger bench, which in 2022, yes, many years later, began hearing pleas challenging the constitutional validity of reservations on religious grounds. Now, viewers, as you know, we are a secular nation. There is no bar on promising people reservations or quotas on the back of financial, economic criteria. But the moment to bring in religion, then viewers, it runs aground of the Constitution's commitment to secularism. A state cannot conflate itself with religious activity or activism. There are other provisions in the Congress manifesto that require close reading. For instance, there are promises to ensure, quote, the economic empowerment of minorities, unquote, as this is a, quote, necessary step for India to realize its full potential, unquote. Besides, there is also the express promise to, quote, ensure that banks will provide institutional credit to minorities without discrimination, unquote. Now, these seemingly high-minded declarations could easily set the basis for policies favorable to minorities. Again, viewers, there is past precedence. And let me take you back to the hard facts, that the Congress isn't above using the levers of office to muscle communally suspect legislation. In 2011, the unelected Sonia Gandhi-led National Advisory Council drafted the Prevention of Communal and Targeted Violence Access to Justice and Reparations Bill. The said proposed legislation was tabled in 2014 in Parliament. It's on your screens. But it was soon revealed that the bill was itself communal. It took the clear-eyed legal acuity of the late Arun Jaitley in Parliament to question the bill on constitutional grounds. Jaitley concluded that the bill assumed that only members of a minority can be targeted during a riot under the provisions of the bill, that the majority community could only be considered perpetrators and never the victims of communal violence. In other words, viewers, Hindus could only be perpetrated and never the victims. So only Hindus, at the end of the day, would be held liable for any communal conflagration under the terms of this bill. Jaitley's intervention ensured that the UPA shelved the bill for good, and just as well. There are many such examples of the Congress in power using its executive and legislative powers to enact legislation discriminatory towards Hindus. In 2009, UPA promulgated the Right to Education RTE Act, which excluded minority schools from its ambit or from its purview. The Act made it mandatory for expressly majority community-run or owned schools to reserve 25% seats and education and financial aid for poor and disadvantaged students. While theoretically, the government was to compensate these schools for the expenses, but a 2017 CNAG report revealed that the government took as much as 307 days to release these funds to these majority schools. For most such Hindu community-run and operated schools, it was too late. Many shut down. Now friends, what's the guarantee that history will repeat itself? You're entitled to ask this question. Without the aid of a crystal ball, it is impossible to answer the question. Perhaps the only way to respond is by posing a counter question. What is the guarantee that history won't repeat itself? Let's open this up, viewers. Let's ask some basic questions this evening. And I want to first begin with a senior fellow of the IPCS, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Now, many people, independent of the Prime Minister, he has been, of course, he has, as you know, junked political correctness, said things that are not usually characteristic of what he usually says in the public domain. But be that as it may, I want to ask you, Mr. Mitra, is the Congress manifesto fundamentally biased towards Muslims? Is it, as the Prime Minister calls it, the imprint of the Muslim League? And will this Muslim appeasement charge stick? Fundamentally, those are the questions.
Thank you, Rahul. I'm going to split this, since you agglomerated it, I'm going to split it a bit. See, the thing is, it's not the manifesto itself. It is manifesto plus past actions plus current speeches given by their leader, and we assume he's the leader. He doesn't hold a party post and things, but everybody treats him as if they are chaprasis and he is the master. So that particular leader in question keeps giving these speeches where he's talking about the most extreme kind of Maoist wealth distribution. They will come. Mind you, it isn't just wealth distribution. Rahul, you understand, these people were all screaming about Pegasus and tech fog and whatnot. They are going to come and do intrusive audits into your house, into your place of work, into your place of worship, into your children's schools, into your wife's private laundry cupboard, God knows what not. They're going to come and do audits. They are going to gauge everything, price everything, decide what they want to distribute, what they do not want to distribute. And at least we have to appreciate Rahul Gandhi for being specific, because in their manifesto they were trying to gloss it all over with very generic words. But at least he has come out and said it. Number one. Number two, if you take their past actions, they have said this time and again. I just want to read out. If you remember, in 2020 during COVID, several members of the national of the NAC, if you remember, came out and put out a 7-point program. I'm going to read out point 7 from that 7-point program. These are all people who Mr. Rahul Gandhi decides to interview on his YouTube channel. If you remember all those expert interviews and things he was doing. Whatever it takes, National Revival Mission will not be constrained by a lack of resources. Point 7.1. All the resources, in brackets, cash, real estate, property, bonds, etc., close bracket, with the citizens or within the nation, must be treated as national resources available during the crisis. They wanted to do whole-scale theft of property. This man is basically a better-looking version of Hugo Chavez, and that's about it. There is no if or but to it. All right. Now, these same people, what is their past? Do you remember? There was one very important, you've done a very impressive job listing out their past actions. Do you remember in the end of 2014, when their time was coming to an end, they just gifted off 123 public properties to the Waqf? Do you remember that, Rahul? All of these were under litigation, and they decided to withdraw any objection to the litigation and just gave it off to the Waqf. Then you have this thing about first right on resources, which they've all been trying to distance themselves from. See, they could have said something very simple, the Congress spokesperson, Rahul, even assume it was badly drafted. A Congress person could have just come out and said, no, Muslims do not have first right on resources of the country. Not one of them is willing to say that. Get any one of the Congress people right now to say that, they will not say that. All right. The third is the communal violence bill that you brought out. I can show you hundreds of examples like this, but you've done a fantastic job doing that. So this is their past actions. And currently, what have they been doing, Rahul? If you notice in the, right now, of course, there was the Karnataka killing where a congressman himself is now saying it is love jihad. But do you remember when Hanuman Chalisa was played, the Karnataka police has registered the case against the fellow who got beaten up. So they might not have enacted the communal violence bill, but on the ground, they are enforcing the communal violence bill. Now, in all of this, they will come up with all kinds of word salad and justification and this and that and whatnot. But they are very, very clear about this. This is, I would in fact go a step further from the BJP. This is not the manifesto of the Muslim League. This is the manifesto of ISIS. Okay,
well, strong words being used by Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Let me bring in senior advocate to the Supreme Court, Mr. Hegre. Mr. Hegre, what is the guarantee that history won't repeat itself in the manner that I have sort of elucidated and, of course, Mr. Iyer has illustrated with examples? There is a concern. The manifesto is a little ambiguously worded and therefore allows for elbow room to go back to the kind of institutionalized policies that discriminated amongst various religions. How do we know that this manifesto, in its sort of loose wording, etc., will not give or provide the next iteration, if it does happen, of a UPA-like government led by the Congress to follow the historical path?
Well, if you are going to go by history or ask ambiguous questions based on past history, people might well ask you, what is the guarantee that Gujarat 2002 will not happen again? So don't simply draw unnecessary analogies from history the way you said it. Now, we were talking about redistribution and things like that. Let me draw your attention to the Constitution of India. Article 39 says the state shall in particular direct its policy towards securing that the ownership and control of the material resources of the community are so distributed as to best subserve the common good. That the operation of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. Today, we are living in a society which is more unequal than even the British left. We are living in a society where the top 1% owns about 40% of the national wealth. This is an unsustainable situation, particularly in a government, in a country whose constitution looks to seeing that there is distributive justice. So manifestos come, manifestos go. Today, if there is an attempt to secure data for the purposes of ensuring reservation, then I don't see anything wrong with it. The Supreme Court has continually held that if you want to have reservations beyond a particular number, or for OBCs, or for any particular caste in promotions, then you have to provide data. For the past, in 2021, you have not had a census. Next time, if a more scientific census, which gives you not only community-wise distribution of wealth and various other statistics are available to any government. Forget the Congress government, forget the BJP government. You
Okay.
may have a third-party government. Quantitative data collection, I see nothing wrong. And as far as redistribution is concerned, the Constitution itself calls for it.
Okay, so let's then, since there is now more clarity, given what Rahul Gandhi has sort of added a day later to what the manifesto spoke about, Dr. Raman, and I want to bring in the BJP spokesperson, Mr. R.P. Singh. Let's ask some basic questions, because if wealth redistribution is sanctioned by the Constitution under Article 39, as Mr. Hegre has sort of pointed out, then clearly there is no constitutional impediment, Dr. Raman, to this. So let me then ask you, because this is where the problem can sort of manifest itself in the manner in which we know it has in the past, which is a form of institutionalized iniquity against one particular community. And it becomes incumbent upon me, therefore, to pose these questions. Let's assume that there is a max attempt at distributing wealth. Should it be both income and assets, Dr. Raman? Because if it is only income, we have instrumentalities already, taxation, etc. And we have seen how effective, I'm being sarcastic here, that has been. Hugely spiteful taxation initiatives did nothing. But if it is about determining assets, which is another factor of wealth, then the Prime Minister is not wrong when he says that the Mangalsutra could be the target, could be taken. So he is not lying at all.
Rahul, first of all, let us add OBCs, SC/STs and all minorities to all that you have said so far. First.
No, minorities,
Everything-
when you say
No,
all
no,
minorities,
one
what do you
second.
mean?
One
Religious
second.
minorities also? Just clarifying.
All religious minorities.
All religious minorities.
Yes. And OBCs and SC/STs, because whether it pertains to what Rahul Gandhi is speaking or what Dr. Manmohan Singh said in 2006, this was the subtext from where very cleverly the Prime Minister has chosen to target only one community and remove the OBCs and SC/STs for obvious reasons. Now let us go on to the second part. Now, when Dr. Manmohan Singh made the speech itself, this issue was raised and a clarification was given the very next day by the then Prime Minister's office.
Yeah.
Now, let us put that aside. Let us come to this problem. This redistribution, nowhere does the manifesto speak about forcibly taking people's wealth away. Redistribution could be anything. Redistribution, for instance, as you rightly said, could be higher taxes on the rich. That is one form of redistribution. Second, the better or preferential distribution of government assets. For instance, land is probably one of the biggest government assets. So land to the landless or the homeless could be distributed in a preferential manner, going to the OBCs, SC/STs and minorities first. Look, these are standard methods by which attempts should be made to reduce the disparities in wealth in this country. Now, there is a need to do some of these. The way it has been cleverly seized upon is to say that, your Mangalsutra will be taken away, your house, you have an apartment in a village, that one apartment will be in a town, that will be taken away if you have an ancestral house in the village. It is extremely sad because, look, this cannot be done. I mean,
No, come on. Suman C.
government-
Raman, please.
Where
Let's not
does
say
the
it cannot be
manifesto
done.
Where does the manifesto talk about? In a democracy, it can't be done, Rahul. Please show me where the manifesto says forcibly taking away wealth from anybody.
I'll tell you.
Where does it
I'll
say?
tell you, sir.
Resources
No,
get-
one second.
government resources.
Give me a second.
Government resources.
You asked me a question. There is going to be, according to this manifesto in the equity section, please read it, socio-economic
Yes.
caste census, SECC, no problem, to enumerate
It is
the castes, subcastes and their socio-economic conditions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Essential.
How do you determine the socio-economic condition?
You calculate, right now, the government actually has the data. Of course, the data is dated, but you do have the data of
How do you calculate
the average
it, sir?
income.
Through
The average income of the family is data which is already available with the government.
So then tell
Which
me
community
something.
they belong
Then
to
tell
is
me
also
something.
available.
Then tell me something. If no government will do that, how did we have the Compulsory Deposit Scheme Act? How did we have the Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertakings Act in 1970? Where did that come from?
exactly.
An express commitment to
One minute.
socialism.
Rahul, land sealing act.
One
It
minute.
says no land.
What
Land
happened?
sealing act.
What happened
Yes.
50 years ago?
No, it's not. No,
50
please.
years
No.
ago,
I'm
India-
sorry. I'm
One
sorry.
minute.
That we
I'm
cannot.
sorry.
I'm sorry. That we
sorry.
cannot draw
I'm sorry.
arbitrary lines
If-
and say that didn't happen in the past, so
if-
it can't happen again. Of
it
course,
won't-
it can happen
you-
again. I'll tell you how.
How can it happen
I'll,
again?
I'll give you an
This is a-
example. I'll give you an
Okay.
example. The BJP went back to an import, as you know, substitution policy with laptops, sir. You criticized it sitting on this channel.
No, 1 second.
These kind
One
of
second.
retrograde
Rahul.
steps have been taken and they are
Rahul.
continually taken. No, I won't buy that
1
argument,
minute.
sir.
No.
I won't buy that
We
argument.
are talking of one simple point.
There
we are
is-
talking of only one point.
No, 1 second.
Forcibly taking away people's wealth are typically, as
Sir,
the Prime
every
Minister
day,
said,
every day
removing the
as a, no, hang on,
Mangalsutra from the women.
Every day, sir, as a taxpayer, a lot of my money is going to subsidize rich farmers who are 10 times richer than me.
And what has the government done in 10 years?
Well, I'm saying
Please
to you,
answer that question.
I'm
No,
saying to you, so
asking
I'm asking you this
I
question.
agree.
So I am
I
saying to
agree.
you
Tax
that
the
these
rich farmer.
policies exist
I
and they are
agree.
enacted. So don't
No,
put
I
it
agree
past.
with you.
My
Tax
dear
the
friend,
rich farmer.
Dr. Aman,
Please tax
Dr.
the rich
Aman,
farmer.
Dr. Aman,
You're not
Dr.
getting my
Aman,
point.
You're getting my point. You're not letting me.
Why is corporate tax
I am
low,
saying to
high,
you
low
that
and
these
individual
kind
tax?
of arbitrary changes can take place in the name of populism.
In the last 10 years, what
In
has the
fact,
government
sir,
done?
in
to
fact,
prevent
sir,
that?
this government has in fact increased huge subsidies.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying it can be done. What is the guarantee that the Congress will say, no, we have suddenly become extremely
My point
fiscally
is,
liberal?
where does the manifesto
Come
say
on.
this?
I'm telling you,
And you're
sir,
not
there
getting
is an
my point,
express
Rahul.
commitment to...
Rahul, can I come in?
Just 1 second. There is an...
Redistribution does not mean
Sir,
forcible acquisition.
Okay, let me tell you, the economic empowerment of minorities. Okay, that is also there. A necessary step
OBCs and SC/STs.
for India to...
Why are you leaving them out?
I am not saying that I'm leaving them out. I'm including them. You
are
started
not
by saying
mentioned
that
them
all
once.
minorities. Why should affirmative action be on the template of religion? And let me ask you, if that is the criteria, if you
It is
believe
not on the
that there
basis of
should be an
religion.
economic
It is
redistribution,
on-
what about
who are
Jains?
OBCs?
What about
OBCs
Parsis?
are not
They are a
Hindus.
micro minority in this country and they are some of the richest. Should their wealth be
OBCs are
taken?
not Hindus.
No, I'm
OBCs
asking
are
you.
not Hindus.
I'm
According
asking
to
you, sir.
SC/STs are not Hindus.
I'm asking
according to
you. I'm asking you. You see, this is
I'm
where the
asking you.
problem, this is where the argument
OBCs
begins to
are
break down.
Hindus.
Okay, 1 second.
OBCs
Dr.
are
Raman,
Hindus.
you know and I know.
SC/STs are Hindus.
Okay, sir, I'm not going to bandy words. I'm only going to say, when you say all minorities, all of
That
them,
is what is
including, no,
said.
1 second, Jains come under and Parsis come under the minority tag also. Are you supposed to
They
tell
will
me
benefit then.
that they should, and
They
they're
will
a rich
benefit, they
community, should they be excluded or should they be included and should they also be given benefits?
Look, the point is, it speaks of minorities.
No, I want
If
you to answer
want-
this question.
let the
Should
Congress
Jains
party
be
come
excluded?
out-
They are a rich minority, a micro minority, and Parsis.
Look,
Should they be
if
excluded?
If there are the poorest among the Jains,
If they are
maybe
poor.
they need
See
to
now,
be
viewers, now comes the caveat.
don't know.
Now comes the
There is no
exceptionalism.
caveat.
Now
There is
comes
no
the
caveat. If there
selectivity.
are poor
Now
people
comes the
among
cherry
these
picking.
communities,
This is where
to
the
say that
problem
every
is,
Jain in
viewers.
this country
Jains will be
is
left
winning
out.
money.
Parsis will be
I'm
left
sorry.
out. They will have to
Who
give
said
their wealth
Who
to
said that?
subsidize
Who said that?
other minorities.
Who said that?
Rahul,
Who said
I'm
that?
only telling
Who
you.
said that?
Manmohan Singh used
Who said that?
particularly
You're telling
Muslims.
He
Congress is
said
not saying
particularly
that.
Muslims. Manmohan Singh said so. Particularly Muslims.
Look, he
In
said
what
the sentence
context?
was
Look
Let
at
me
the
bring in
minorities.
RPC.
Rahul,
Let
particularly
me
get
Muslims,
sentence.
because they are the largest minority. Because
Well,
they are
sir,
the largest minority.
actually you're right.
50 crores
Actually,
even from Hindu temples in Karnataka.
He said OBCs before that, you cut it out. He
One
said
second, one
SC/STs,
second.
you cut
Viewers,
it
there are
out.
enough laws that punish one religion over all
Can I
others.
come in?
And there are enough laws. And I want to bring in RP Singh after that, Mr. Hegde. We can talk about these problems. The problem is it's all very nice to say that wealth must be redistributed. We have seen the disasters around us. Anyhow, RP Singh, I want to ask you, where are these ghosts in the manifesto that you're seeing of Muslims, etc., and Hindus? This is the question that is coming back to you. Please respond.
I'll answer that, Rahul. Thank you. But let me start with greeting all your viewers of the Hanuman Jayanti today, and let me just show, just play out the Manmohan Singh ji's.
We have to devise innovative plans to ensure that minorities, particularly the Muslim minority,
Minorities, particularly
That's a wrong
Muslim
one.
minorities.
That's a false
Sir, he
one.
didn't interrupt you. Let him have his
No,
say. Dr. Raman, he didn't interrupt you. Let him have his say, please.
He's lying.
I beg
He's
you.
lying.
He's lying.
So,
No, he's not lying.
Go to
He's
the
not lying.
transcript.
You can
Go
all
to
now
the
quibble
transcript.
over grammar, etc.,
Don't
etc.
do that on your
Play
channel.
the full
I have
detail
gone
of that.
into the details, sir.
Don't
Don't lecture
allow
me.
that.
Yesterday I
Read
sat
out
here
the
and I
entire
went word by
transcript.
word into the
That was
full
neither
speech.
Manmohan Singh's,
Rahul, just
that
answer
was
the same.
not
Muslims
Manmohan
don't
Singh's
have
voice
first right.
either, the way I heard it. So please,
Sir,
don't allow
wasn't
your
the
channel
name
to be
Muslim,
hijacked like that.
wasn't Muslims included,
don't
weren't Muslim
lie.
included in all minorities?
Please read the entire sentence. Please read the entire
I
sentence.
cannot
Rahul,
believe this. Viewers, I rest my case here. It's there. The full quote is on your
Can I-
screens
can I
right now.
please allow me
The
to
man,
complete?
the man came out and
that
said,
is not the full
particularly
quote.
Muslims, why on
That-
religious basis should anyone be getting
Please.
any benefits? Why on religious basis? Aren't there any poor Hindus, viewers? Have we gone?
Aren't they OBCs?
Have we become so
OBCs,
selective?
STs. Why
Are
are you
they
leaving
not
it
poor
out?
Jains? Are they not poor Parsis?
Why are you leaving it out?
1%
Why shouldn't it be
owns
particularly
40%
Parsis,
of
particularly
your
Hindus,
money.
particularly Jains?
Just
1% of the
Particularly
country
Sikhs.
owns 40%
OBCs are what?
of the
They are
nation.
not
Let me bring in
Hindus.
RP Singh. Let him have his say,
OBCs
please.
are not Hindus.
Let 1 second, sir. Can OBCs be
OBCs are not
Muslims?
Hindus.
Can OBCs be Muslims? I believe that Muslims are
SCs are not
casteless.
Hindus.
That it's a casteless society.
SCs are not Hindus.
No, please, sir, don't be today. You know,
It is not
when it
other
suits
backward
you, when it
castes,
suits
it's
you,
other backward
Muslims
classes.
have caste. When it suits you, Muslims don't have caste. Don't do this.
OBC is other
Conversions
backward
are taking
classes.
place to. No, hang on. Conversions are taking place. Hindus are fleeing the Hindu tradition. We are told constantly because there is caste oppression. How can they have caste then in Islam or in Sikhism? No, but viewers, we will see caste there also because you see it suits the narrative. That's the problem. Anyhow, let me bring in the BJP spokesperson. Sir, first tell me. Is there caste
Sir.
in Sikhism? Do you have, sir, castes?
Who are the Majbi Sikhs? Let
Rahul,
him
I'll
tell you.
answer that, but
Who are the
allow me
Majbi
to complete my
Sikhs?
first point. I mean,
Yeah, please.
Who are the Majbi Sikhs?
Sir,
Let him finish,
Please
sir.
tell
Let
me.
him
कहावत है
finish.
मिटकी
Did he
लगी
interrupt
कितनी
you?
जोर से
Please,
लगी
please,
मिटकी
let
मुझे
him
पता
finish.
नहीं पर मिटकी लगी जरूर
Go
they
ahead.
don't want to hear the truth.
Okay,
The
go ahead.
truth is there's a commission, a minority commission in this country. I'm asking a blunt question. How many chairmen of the minority commission have been appointed by Congress party or UPA as Sikh, Jain or any other minority than Muslims? It has always been Muslims who have been appointed as the chairman of the minority commission by UPA. So this clearly shows what do they mean by minority. For them, minority mean Muslims, not Sikhs, not Jainis, not Buddhists. We are not treated as minorities. Practically, we are the minorities. They are the largest, number 2 majority in the country. They are 14%, which is the second majority in the country, not the minority. But they treat them as minority, and then let me read out and then you missed on few things also. You missed on the way the special benefits have been given in Karnataka for Muslims. Here is the ad of the government of Karnataka, which says that 50% subsidy will be given auto for Muslims on name of minorities, just Muslims, no other minority, no Christians, no Sikhs, no Jain, no Buddhists. So this is what the Congress mean, and you want me to read out from their manifesto? Let me be very categorical. They say that judicial appointment will be done as per religion. Minorities will be appointed in the judicial appointment, and I have proven that minority mean Muslims. Mean they're not looking for engineers, they're not looking for doctors, they're not looking for teachers, but judiciary, yes, because they want judicial process to be influenced. Tomorrow there is a decision of Afzal Guru, then probably that has to influence. So that's the reason. the minorities again, and not only that here. Let me read out from their manifesto again. Congress will ensure that every citizen minorities have the freedom of choice of dress, food, language, and personal laws. Who has personal laws in this country? You want to bring Sharia to the country? You want to bring the triple talaq back? You want to get people follow halal in this country?
There is the SGPC
What is the objective?
Act.
And
Are
Mr.
you aware of
Hegde,
that?
just hold on, Mr. Hegde. You spoke about
there is the
Gujarat,
SGPC
but you
Act
missed
or
on.
no?
Sorry, sir, hold on. You spoke on Gujarat, right? But you missed on the genocide of the Kashmiri Pandits. How could you miss on that? How did you miss on the massacre which was done for 2006? You just spoke about the riots, and there were the riots, and this was genocide and a massacre. There's a difference between the massacre and genocide, and it happened in the Congress regime.
Are there Majbis among the Sikhs? You first answer that. Let's
No.
one by one, no. Are there Majbis among the Sikhs?
No. You first answer me, sir. What do you mean by minority, sir? What do Congress mean by minority? Let's be clear on that. And then it's not only that. Let me read out from the speech of Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Let me read out from the speech of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, which he gave in Hyderabad. He says, अगर कांग्रेस सत्ता में आई तो यह पता लगाएंगे कि एक वित्तीय और संस्थागत संरक्षण कराएगी देश की अधिकार संपत्ति पर किसका नियंत्रण है.
Let me step in here.
This says that they want to do a survey of the people's assets. It's there in the speech.
There is
Can
I ask you, Mr. Hegde,
who did that?
Mr. Hegde,
so why do you want to snatch the Mangalsutra of the poor Hindu lady?
No cross talk, please.
By law.
No cross talk.
Demonetization. Who did that?
Gentlemen, okay.
Answer that.
Okay, please, 1 second. No cross talk. Let's not taunt each other. We will have a sensible debate.
Mr. Hegde, first talk about the genocide of the Kashmiri
Talk about
Pandits.
demonetization. No?
Okay, 1 second.
Talks about
Please.
Other chairman of Minority Commission other than Muslim was appointed by the Congress party.
Oh, no. 1 second. Mr. RP
Except
Singh,
the
1 second.
BJP was appointed 6 as a minority.
You made your points.
Whether
Now
it's Lochan Singh ji or now Lalpura ji.
Okay, 1 second, sir. I get it. You made your points. Let's just open this up a little bit more. Mr. Iyer, I want you to come in on this. You see, I am a little worried. Fair enough. Wealth redistribution is allowed under the Constitution, Article 39, and it's a worthy cause. Let's for a moment grant this and say that the Congress embarks upon it. I want to ask you, presumably we cannot differentiate, for example, if you want to assess income. You can't differentiate between tax-paying and non-tax-paying citizens. So I want to ask you, will a future Congress government redistribute the wealth of crorepati farmers also? Mr. Iyer, let me ask you, all asset classes, ancestral land and property will have to be assessed. Now, if a ceiling on holdings will be imposed, excess land will have to be redistributed. It's not as if we haven't had ceilings on land holdings in the past. Okay. So what will this ceiling be? And won't middle class and neo-middle class be impacted the most? These are questions I want to ask you.
First of all, Rahul, I want you to notice neither of the two Congress-leaning panelists are ever answering questions directly. They are going round and round. They could have just said very clearly there will be XYZ limits on wealth redistribution. They did not. They had all the opportunity. They brought everything under the sun from, the color of the sky to the smell of the rain and God knows what not, except talk to the point. Now, the one thing that the senior advocate left out was the caveat at the bottom, as best to subserve the common good, which was left up to interpretation. Then you had the first amendment to the Constitution and subsequent amendments which took away your property rights. Right? Now, in spite of taking away the property rights, let's just go to their first family.
By Morarji Desai, which took away property rights. It included L.K. Advani and Vajpayee. Okay, so don't get...
I haven't finished talking. Thank you.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is the Gandhi family itself has thousands of crores, continues to have thousands of crores of property, which as we saw in the National Herald case, they do it differently. They don't own it directly. They become trustees of boards and they steal. Imagine the first family being common thieves. They steal public property like that is given in trust, make themselves trustees, then take it over and then want to sell it to pocket all the profit themselves.
So 1 second. Let's
So
cut.
they start up with their own trusts and boards.
Okay,
They
well-
should first nationalize their own trusts and boards. Maybe
There are
Sanjay
doctors and there are lawyers and there are all sorts of other
give up all their trusts and
professionals
boards.
also who hold huge amounts of assets, etc. But let me just ask you, Mr. Hegre, let me just ask you, look, determining assets of institutions, since it is specifically mentioned, as you know, in the manifesto, I want to ask you, will require covering religious ones too, I presume? Because they hold the largest land banks. I mean, you know that Temple, Waqf and other minority bodies hold a large chunk, large proportion of the national land bank. You know this better than I do, in fact.
Yes, but
Will
most
certain
of the-
religions therefore be exempted from redistribution because they are deemed minorities according to you? According to Dr. Raman, all minorities, will they all be exempted?
Nothing. I don't know what the actual execution will be. But please take it from me that properties of all religious institutions have been acquired in various ways throughout.
But you didn't answer my question, Mr. Hegre. That I all know. We all know this. I'm asking a very specific
whether
question.
it is Keshavananda Bharati,
Mr. Hegre,
or
specific question.
I'm
Specific
sorry.
question, please. I beg you. Specific question. I asked you a very specific
question.
one.
I don't speak for the Congress party.
Ah.
The Congress guys don't
No,
come on your
I'm not talking
your
about
show
the
to
Congress.
show why.
I'm not
So
talking about the Congress. I'm talking about the
speak for
principle.
Congress party, can
I'm
I?
talking about the principles, sir. I'm not talking about the Congress. I want to ask you.
Even the principles, it's for the congressman to
No.
expound that.
Ah,
As far
you see,
as
viewers-
the country
viewers-
is concerned,
viewers,
I
there is
can
a
go
problem
only by
here.
the Constitution.
Okay,
I
I'm
can tell you what the Constitution
Dr.
allows.
Raman, let me bring you in. Let me
Yeah.
bring him. Let me bring in Dr. Raman. On this point, Dr.
Yeah.
Raman, since we are talking about determining assets of institutions, and it is written expressly in this manifesto. I'm not lying about this. You can quote it. Will this require covering religious institutions too? Temples, Waqf and other minority bodies, as you know, and I'm going to repeat this question that I asked of Mr. Hegre, hold a large part of the national land bank. Will certain religions be exempted from redistribution because they are deemed minorities? Simple question, Dr. Raman.
First of all, how do you actually discuss something so hypothetical? You don't even know if it means religious institutions. It doesn't even say religious
It can mean
institutions.
companies.
Now,
So-
you assume it means religious institutions.
Why wouldn't it?
Then you say, okay,
Why
will you
wouldn't it?
leave out Muslim institutions?
Today, Hindu temples considered
entire
the no. Today, Hindu is it not a fact that there is something called the HR&CE Act? Hindu
Yes,
institutions,
in
Hindu
10 years,
institutions
please
are
tell me what
are
did
taxed
this government
exclusively.
do to free the temples?
Is it yes or
Now
no?
You tell me.
Is it yes or no?
You answer my question.
What?
You answer my question.
What is the question?
10 years, there has been a free temple
Sir,
movement going on. Tell me
Modi
one
is
temple
a
that was
failure.
freed from government
Modi is
control
a
in 10 years.
failure. He will be
No,
booted
no.
out of power. I concede the
you
point you are
answer-
making. But
you
does that
answer-
mean?
you answer my
One
question.
second. Arey bhaiya, I've answered your question. Modi has failed.
Sir,
Now it's up to
no,
the
no.
people to. No, what no?
Arey,
I've said
Rahul.
Modi has failed on this account. Now it's up to the
that's
people
not the
to.
point. That is not the
That
point.
is not the point.
I'm making. No.
He doesn't want
You
to
have
answer
not
your
free
question,
temples.
Rahul. He has
There
no
is-
answer. Chhod
the
do bechare ko.
whole debate is being held on the basis of a hypothetical assumption which you have made.
I have
which
not
the
made a
Prime Minister-
hypothetical assumption.
You have
They've
made
talked about
absolutely
institutions.
hypo-
Why hasn't the
Where
Congress
is
clarified that it will
institution
not be
can also
religious
be a company.
institutions?
You should.
Bennett
that's
Coleman
exactly
or
Am I
what
whichever
drawing the
company.
manifesto? Am
You
I going
should-
to seek the
you
vote?
should-
Should the Congress,
you should
is the
get-
Congress absolved,
get-
viewers, of
get
being
Mr.
specific?
Get Mr. Jairam Ramesh.
No, but
or
Dr.
Pawan
Raman, I
Khera
want to ask
and ask them
you, is the
question.
Congress, look, I began, viewers, by saying that these are very ambiguously worded clauses, perhaps deliberately, viewers. We don't know. A manifesto must tell you, A, how it is providing for the various promises it is making. In India, no one does. We don't know where the money is going to come out for even conducting such a survey. And will this survey be only done once? Does income equality disappear after the redistribution? Or will it be done repeatedly, viewers? And where will this money come from? We hold a census once in 10 years. Are you telling me that we are going to now hold a wealth census once in 10 years? When everything
actually, we
perhaps
don't
will...
hold
No,
a
no,
census.
listen, I'm speaking now, Dr. Raman.
Where
I'm
is
speaking.
the 2021
These
census?
are the fundamental, these are the fundamental questions.
When is it going to be
Why
held?
hasn't the Congress, to remove ambiguity, been specific? Why?
I entirely agree with you. They have to be
thank you,
specific.
sir. I
But
rest my
this is
case.
entirely a
So,
hypothetical
because
debate.
viewers, the manifesto is hypothetical, because the manifesto is ambiguous, I can also then ask hypothetical questions because they affect me. QED.
No, that's like.
So now
that's
I'm
like
asking some hypothetical questions,
That's
viewers.
like asking, have you stopped beating your
No,
wife?
no, 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 no.
That's a
I'm going to now
hypothetical
ask some
question.
hypothetical questions on a hypothetical manifesto. Can you imagine, viewers, the Congress believes that it can take you for granted that it has no liability to give you specifics before a national election? And we are defending this? Can you believe it, viewers? Can we believe it? This is where we have come to. We will talk in the air, we will not commit to the voter, and we will want the voters' vote. To what end, viewers? Think about this. Think about this, viewers. Everyone is silent on the panel now. Can you believe this?
Are you giving me time?
This,
Or are you
please, Mr. Hegde,
interrupting me?
speak. Should the Congress not go into specifics in its manifesto?
Which political party
Congress-
ever
That
goes
doesn't
into
mean anything.
specifics?
Are
Did
they-
Mr. Modi tell you that he was going to bring in
What about
demonetization?
what about Modi?
No, no,
what
no.
about Modi?
Did-
I'm asking you, the
has
Congress,
the-
is it voting?
When the biggest redistribution was demonetization.
I agree with you.
Mr. Modi ever tell the people of India, I am going to demonetize
Can I answer
your
what did
money?
Mr.
Yeah,
Modi
please,
committed and
answer.
what he
RP
did?
Singh, answer. RP Singh, answer. Respond. We only get what about here.
Yeah,
What about
Mr.
Modi?
The
Why did
real
Modi do this?
distribution is
The
happening
Congress
when
party
bank
has an
accounts of the
obligation
poor
to this
have been
country,
opened
viewers.
without-
Do you agree there?
with a zero
The
balance.
Congress party
It's
has an
happening when
obligation
11
to the
crore
viewers to
farmers are
tell you
getting
exactly
Kisan
what it
Subsidy.
stands for.
It's happening
Why
when
isn't
10
it
crore
telling
women
us
are getting
that?
the gas cylinder and
Yes.
the gas stove at home. It's happening when 14.5 crore people getting water, fresh water through taps at their doorstep. It's happening when 55 crore people get the Ayushman Bharat, their free treatment for 5 lakh rupees. That's the way it has to be. But, and in that also, it's not one versus other. It's not that for minorities or majority. Although beneficiaries are minority and probably more than their numerical numbers, more than their population. But again, they want to do what Karl Marx did.
Well, let me tell you,
And they want
viewers,
to destroy
I have run
countries
out
like
of time now.
Russia
I've run
and
out of
India.
time on this
USSR
debate.
was-
No, no,
Let me tell
according
you.
to you, Mr.
Yes, viewers, let me just say. There is one request of the Congress party. Please hold a press conference and clarify these ambiguously worded clauses. Go clause by clause and tell us exactly what you stand for. And it's no good to say Modi hasn't done it in his manifesto. You say that you are an alternative to Modi, so do things differently from Mr. Modi and earn our trust. Is that too much to ask for? Fundamental question. I leave it at this, viewers.